everybody! Last time you saw me, I was on my way out of Paris. I had just packed up my apartment and I was leaving the city. And now I'm in a completely different place, if you can tell by the temperature. I am in San Juan, Puerto Rico. And as a matter of fact, I didn't even know I was going to be here until about 5 days ago. So this trip is very unplanned and unresearched, so we'll see what I can get up to. As I said, this is a very unplanned trip, so I have not done any research and I have no idea what there is to do here. So I'm basically just going to take a walk around the city and see what it's like. So I have had quite a time actually getting myself here over the past 3 days. So as you saw, I was leaving my Parisian apartment and on my way to the airport to fly back to Dublin. So I woke up at 5 a.m. to fly back to Dublin, where I met Carl again, and he picked me up and took me back to his dad's house, where we spent a few hours. His dad made us an amazing Irish stew and then dropped us back to the airport that same afternoon. From there, we got on a flight to Boston, and then from Boston, we flew here to San Juan. And then we had a bit of trouble because Carl's next flight was supposed to leave 5 hours later at 7 a.m., but it was then delayed till 10:30 a.m. So we had to stay overnight in the airport so that he could catch his flight the next morning, while I unfortunately had to stay behind in San Juan. So the reason I had to stay behind in San Juan is because if you've watched my other videos, you might know that Carl and I have been applying for work visas for a new country. So my work visa unfortunately has not been approved yet, which means I'm not able to actually enter the country. So I have to stay behind in San Juan until it's actually been approved. So yep, I am here for at least 1 week while I hope that the visa will be approved so I can go rejoin Carl. That's so hot! I don't know how to do hot weather. It's been 5 years since I left Thailand, and that was the last time I've seen heat like this. I'm just not used to it. Another thing about that is that I'm absolutely terrible at coping with bad weather anyway. So I'm someone who will get heat stroke very easily, will even pass out if I'm in the heat for too long. It's really stupid, but that's the way it is. But over the years, I have learned how to cope with it. There are 3 very important things that I need in order to survive heat. And that is obviously, number 1, I need a load of cold water constantly, which I have. And I need to be well fed, which I am. And number 3, very important, I need a huge floppy sun hat, which I don't have. Oh, a bit of shade. So one of my goals for today is to also find a big nap. And hopefully I'll survive. I am the only person in this entire place. Beautiful weather. Ooh, scary weather. I think I'm gonna go try to find a cafe or something, maybe somewhere to have some lunch, and hope that that huge cloud passes during that time. Okay, so the rain finally stopped. I was in there for about an hour waiting for it to pass, but it was a nice break anyway, just to get out of the sun for a while. As a continuation as to why the last few days have been really crazy. So after all of the flying and actually finally arriving in San Juan and then Carl leaving, that wasn't the end of the story. I left the airport in a taxi and went to my hotel that I had booked. But when I got to the hotel, there was nobody there to check me in. So I was there for over an hour, knocking on the door, yelling, "Hey, come let me in, where are you?" And by the way, I had told them that that was the time when I was going to be there, and I was there exactly then. And yeah, so I was there for an hour trying to get someone to let me in, and there was no one there. And I didn't have Wi-Fi, I didn't have cell service, I didn't even have their number because I couldn't look it up. So I just didn't know what to do, so I just left. Made my way over with all my bags, and at this point I'm still wearing like winter clothes from Ireland, and it's like 30 degrees here. And I'm hauling my stuff down these sidewalks. So I stopped at a Starbucks just for the fact that I needed to use some Wi-Fi and figure out what I was going to do. I emailed the property, I emailed the landlord, and I even tried calling, but I couldn't get through to them at all. I sat there for about another hour waiting for them to respond, and I couldn't get a hold of them. And so remember, this is after like 36 hours of flying, and I had woken up at 5 a.m. to start with, so like I was going on very little sleep, and I was kind of panicking and going a bit crazy. So what I ended up doing was booking myself into a hostel that was nearby. So I finally got to the hostel and realized that I am not a hostel person anymore. I was in a 4-bed dorm, and the only other person in there was a middle-aged Puerto Rican man who had 0 bags, and I just thought the whole thing was very bizarre. I didn't know what he was up to, and I actually, for the first time, felt quite uncomfortable in a hostel. But I was there, I had checked in for the week, and I was exhausted. So I was getting like super panicky because the place was really noisy, like so many people there. And about 7 o'clock at night, that's when the landlord from the original hotel finally called me and told me, "Hey, I'm here now, you can come check in whenever you want." Which, after spending the day at that hostel, sounded really good, despite how annoyed I was at him for not being there at the arranged time originally. So the problem was, however, that I had already booked and paid for the week in that hostel already. So I decided to be super awkward and go ask the receptionist if I could get a refund on the week. And he was very nice, he was very understanding. He gave me a refund for 6 nights, but not that particular day, which was really fair. But then, to top it all off, he offered to drive me there. So that was so nice. I was a little bit hesitant about it at first because this is someone I don't know. This is a very unfamiliar place. I don't know how safe anything is. He seemed like a really nice person, and I accepted his offer, and I'm so glad I did because he was very nice about it. He let me pick music, and he just drove the whole way, just telling me about the city. He was basically my own little tour guide for the next 15 minutes, and that was really, really nice, and I really appreciated it. So I finally got back to the original hotel, which was a private room, which was why I was so interested in getting there instead of staying at the hostel. So yes, I was finally checked in to the hotel, and the guy who owns it doesn't speak a word of English. I don't speak a word of Spanish. So the entire conversation was done through like his phone and like translations on his phone. But he was very nice, very sweet old man, and yeah, I'm now checked into a suitable private room, which I'm very happy about, and everything has fallen into place. Well, it's been a pretty successful day in San Juan. I had two objectives. One was to get myself a big sun hat, which I have done. And I also wanted to take a walk around the city and just get my bearings and see how far it is to walk to and from places, and that I have done. All without passing out, I might add. I have made a slight blunder though. So I left this morning around 10, and it is now around 5, and I'm heading back to my hotel, but I do know that it's going to take me at least an hour to walk home, probably more, and by that time it's going to be dark, and I don't think San Juan is the kind of place where I want to be out by myself after dark, at least yet. So yeah, that's not very good, but I should make it there in good time anyway. Like, it won't be like dark. I arrived alive to my hotel and it was dark. I mean, it's no problem because this is a fairly decent area as far as I can tell. But in the future, I'm going to start taking the bus because that was a really long walk to take in